Welcome to the podcast, How's Your ePresence? This show is designed to help business people or companies understand the ways to implement their social media better. We are all in the business to make money. Why not use social media to help increase your revenues? Let's talk about that today and give you some real tips that can help make more money and make your social media just more potent. This show is managed by ePresence, and I am Mark Galvin, the founder and CEO of the firm. ePresence manages social media for organizations that understands that business is done more effectively by the individual profile on social media. People do business with people. People interact online with people. Does your organization have a strategy in place to keep your staff that's in charge of brand awareness and interacting with clients potent through their personal accounts? If you'd like to do that, call us right at ePresence. You can find us at ePresence.me. We can help get that done. As you know by now, How's Your ePresence talks about personal social media. We weave that together with the professional side and try to answer questions like, is your business development team members, are they reaching the online audience that they should, since 93% of buying decisions are influenced by social media? How can you use social media to grow your business? Would you like to ask a question of us? Well, you know what? You can find us right online. We use one handle everywhere, and our handle is ePresenceME. That's ePresenceME for ePresence, the company, or you can find me at ePresenceMG. I use the same handle everywhere. I don't care where you look. Go to LinkedIn, go to Twitter, go to Facebook. You'll find me on the same handle. And also, as you know, you can send a message in there and we can respond to those right here on the show and answer any questions that you may have. Today, we are coming from my desk. And this is the second time that I've done a podcast with a wonderful client on the internet. I wish I could say that this gentleman is coming from afar. Well, anyway, he kind of is. But my guest today is Mickey Mellen. Mickey, welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
Well, I'm thrilled you are here. Now, I have a confession to make. Mickey and I have had this podcast scheduled twice now. The first time, I was on one side of town and he is on the other, and I asked if we could postpone because I really mismanaged my time that day. And today, the same thing kind of happened. I'm in one corner of Atlanta, he's in the other corner of Atlanta, and I shot him a note and said, hey, can we do this online? And Mickey, you told me this was good because you wanted to do some work from home anyway, right? So this is a good thing.
Worked out perfect, yeah. With the rainy weather out there, rain and Atlanta traffic do not mix. So your 30-minute ride over would have been much longer anyhow. So Zoom is our hero today.
Well, I do appreciate your flexibility, which is part of what this is all about, right? You know, you can do so much more business right online than we used to, and this is a good example of that. And you and I are kind of in that same world. You're a partner at GreenMellen. What do you guys do over at GreenMellen?
So first, the name, because it throws a lot of people off. My business partner is Allie Green, so hence the Green, Mickey Mellen, Allie Green, GreenMellen. We're a website marketing shop. Been using WordPress for coming up on 15 years now. So we build websites and then help companies with all the stuff around the sites, the social media and email marketing, SEO and SEM, and even promotional materials and flyers and that kind of stuff. But everything they need around that, ideally for people that have that one poor marketing person that's just buried, that we can come in and help relieve some of that burden for them. You know, we like to say our goal is to get that person a raise because things went so well with their little pocket of what they're doing.
Oh, that's just brilliant. You know, you work in one of those fields that has a lot of smoke and mirrors. A lot of my clients say, you know, they've hired people before to do your type of work, and they don't really understand it, and they aren't sure if they see a result. So that is a tough space, and you have been very successful. What do you think you guys do that sets you apart?
That's a great question, because the smoke and mirrors, and really even the snake oil to some extent, especially when you get to SEO and stuff, there's just shady people out there. So we do a few things to help combat that. One is we try to get rid of the smoke and mirrors. You know, we say we're going to help you with SEO. We're going to do A, B, and C, and you're going to see the reports. You're going to see the research. It's not, trust us, we're going to make you magically jump higher in Google. We're going to do A, B, and C and get you going there. And then we try to do other things just to ease their mind. An example being, we don't host websites ourselves. Nothing against companies that do, but that's just a way for them to hold you in. And we see people too often come to us and say, I need help with my site, but my last web guy was hosting it. Now he moved away and I can't reach him, but I don't know the passwords. So we help people set up their hosting in their name where they pay for it. It's $10 a month. It's not the expense that it's about, but they pay for it. They own it. We still do all the dirty work, but at the end of the day, they can say, GreenMellen, it's been great. If we need to cut ties, we can, and they're free and clear. They're not having to get things moved around, and just anything to put their mind at ease is very important to us.
Well, and that's also a good thing because, I do worry about that, and I worry about safety and security. I've heard a number of business people say that their website was hijacked, and they don't use it anymore. I've met a couple of people recently that said that happens, and so you allow the client to figure out where they want to put their website. If that can help them more secure, then they can pick that provider. Is that right?
Basically, and usually they'll say one of two things: either we're already hosted with X, we've been there for years, we want to stay there, and we say that's great. Or they say, I have no idea where to go. And we'll say, great, we have some suggestions. We'll give them ideas where to go, and we'll help them put it there. And the security comes on top of that. We usually, most of our clients, I'd say 150 of them or so, we manage monthly with, among other things, we keep WordPress up to date and plugins up to date, but do malware scans daily from 2 different sources and backups daily to 2 different sources. So that way, if something goes wrong, we know about it quickly, and we have just oodles of backups to get things back up and running quickly.
Oh, that's brilliant. And there's a lot of work that goes into a website, and there's probably a lot of emotion, frankly, that goes into building a website, right? So losing that can be very stressful. We have enough stress these days in trying to run a business, so having that taken care of, I think, is a major plus. Well, I'm glad that you have that you've decided that you'd carve out some time to join me today. You guys do so many cool things. We like to talk about social media here on How's Your ePresence. And one of the things that you've told me before is that you guys meet with a client, you talk about their entire digital footprint, and you've mentioned social media. What do you ask about social media, and what do you find is important to help the clients with? What's that pain point when it comes to that space?
The pain point typically is time. People want to be everywhere at once, or even just want to be in a few channels and just can't do it very well. So it comes down to then their time versus their money. Do they want to pay someone like us to manage that, or do they want to just opt out completely? It's interesting to figure that out, but we stress that they shouldn't pretend to be on social media if they don't have the time for it, because we've all seen that. When we go check out a brand or a product and say, this looks interesting. Let me see what they've been tweeting about lately, and their last tweet was from 2 years ago. Then you think, are they still in business? Usually they are, but it can get tough. I did a post a number of years ago. I looked at car dealerships around Atlanta. I looked for just car dealerships that had their Twitter profile on the homepage. So they were advertising it pretty heavily, and tweeted them all just a quick question, like, what time are you open on Sunday? And like 9% even responded. They're just trying to fake it, and faking it doesn't work with social media.
Yeah, it's a big deal. I had a need to have my carpets cleaned in my house, 2, 3, 4 weekends ago. And I went on Yelp. And right on Yelp, I was just doing some searches, and because I thought it was interesting, I was curious. These roving companies that come to your house, are they on Yelp? Yeah, they are. And I was amazed at finding that not only did I find them, but I could send them a message. And I thought, right, I'm kind of like you. Well, let's see if this works. So I sent out 4 messages, and three of the organizations responded to me right on Yelp. Now, I'm sure Yelp has done a good job, and I don't know this from the Yelp side because it's not a space that we do work in, but evidently there's a great notification system that harnesses and taps people on the shoulder and says, hey, you've got an important message here, and they quickly responded. I booked my carpet cleaning through Yelp. I thought that was amazing.
Interesting. Yeah, that is surprising. That's pretty cool. I'm amazed that 3 out of 4 responded too. That's impressive and encouraging.
I was a little surprised myself. Now, the 4th one did reply some 24 hours later, and I said, it's done. I already had somebody out yesterday. But
even 24 hours isn't too bad. But yeah, in the world of digital and social media, that's a long time.
Yeah, it is, absolutely. Well, this is one of those. This is a pain point that's difficult because there is the consistency factor. How do I stay consistent online? How do I effectively make sure that my message is constantly out there? And, how do you guys suggest it? What is your solution if someone says, I want to do this, but I just can't get this done? What do you guys throw at that? How do you manage that?
Well, we tell them, because usually they start with saying, I can't find time to do it. And of course you can't find time. We can't find time to do anything. You have to make time for it. So it's a combination of making time for it to say, every Monday and Thursday morning, I'm going to go and post on social, and then having a content calendar in front of them to say what they're going to post. We'll often build out a content calendar for a full year, saying, okay, you have that big spring event, so let's back up a few weeks for how we're going to promote it, and back up a month for announcing it. And if we can populate all that, suddenly they say, hey, I have this carved out to do Monday at 10, and they sit down Monday at 10, and there's what they need to talk about, and they can knock it out in 5 minutes. It becomes much less of a burden than hoping to find time sometime on Monday and then sitting down and drawing a blank, and it just kind of spirals in a bad direction. They get to it tomorrow, and tomorrow never comes.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's brilliant. So you guys you've seen a lot of mistakes, I'm sure, on social media. What are the ones that jump out at you? You know, besides being dormant, and dormant's a big deal. Well, let's talk about that. If someone has a dormant account, how have you seen that hurt them negatively in the long run?
We've not seen that from any of our clients per se, but I've seen it myself just with products I play with. You know, we tend to play with a lot of different tools for time management and tasks and email and just whatever tools we want. And I'll see when the people say, this is a neat tool, you need to try it out for managing tasks or whatever. And honestly, if I go there and they haven't tweeted in 2 years, I think, well, if they don't have time for that, they're certainly not going to respond to me if I have an issue, and maybe they're not working anymore. It's hard to say what's going on. A good example of that is Toby Tabs. It's a tab manager for Chrome that's really slick, and I presume they're still in business, but they don't respond to emails. They don't post on social media. It's a great product, but I don't use it because I think it's probably going to disappear tomorrow. And
isn't that fascinating? And that's a great point, because it used to be you had to have your website, right? And I think a lot of people ran out there and they got a website, be it through folks like you or from some of the other great services that may be out there. And then once they checked that off, they went away and they started doing business, probably the more traditional route, answering the phone. But then they start launching social media sites and they're not managing it. You bring up a great point. I have landed on a few Twitter accounts and then it landed up on their Facebook account, and there's nothing going on. When you land on their website and the website date shows 2015, there clearly is a worry that they may not be there. So you could lose business just by not keeping things current, keeping all your data current online. I don't really think about that much, but that's a very good point. I'm glad you bring that up.
And I would say even then, if you can't keep it up, that's okay too. Sometimes people are too busy to do it, but don't have it linked from your homepage. Don't brag about being on Twitter if you're not on Twitter.
Oh, good point. Right. Don't put those links there. And well, you know what? Let's say you're doing a bang up job on LinkedIn. Then just list the LinkedIn icon. Now, I would argue if you're going to be on social media, if you're going to be on one platform, figure out how to push that content to all the platforms, because you and I both know if you're on one, it's easy enough to push that content to the other sites using some of the social media aggregators, or pick up the phone and call someone like you. You guys can help them as well.
I would almost argue against that to some degree, though. I see that with car dealerships. Again, I see some of them where their Twitter account is all pushed from Facebook, and you can tell it's all just pushed from Facebook because the last 6
doesn't
tweets
work.
We posted a new photo on Facebook. We posted a new photo on Facebook. We posted a new photo on Facebook. That's all their Twitter. I'm like, come on, guys, you're faking it. We can tell. You know,
right.
There's certainly ways to connect things and automate it, but you still got to be present and listen and make sure things are going correctly and respond. And over automation is a problem too.
It is a problem. And in these days, the way the social media systems are working, you want to be as authentic as possible. And it's how they're serving up content. If you are not sharing content that is unique, if you're just simply retweeting stuff, well, retweeting is the wrong word. It's across all platforms. If I'm just reposting stuff on Facebook, Facebook's not going to serve those links up, those posts just with a link higher. They're looking for original content where you're saying something that's personal right there on social media. So that's a good point. Well put, well said. Well, we are at the 15-minute mark. What I'd love to do is take a quick break and come back. I've got a few things to ask you about B2B, the B2B world, and how it's important for businesses to be ready to respond to those needs. So we'll be right back. Stay tuned. This is Mark Galvin with ePresence, a personal e-branding firm. Your company's social media may have a few hundred followers, but your team members may be connected to thousands. If you have 5 or more team members and you activate their social media, the company will be in front of thousands. Keep in mind, people do business with people. People interact on their social media with people. why not activate the personal social media profiles at your company and engage with that audience? Get this done with ePresence. We are an e-branding firm that specializes in activating your team's social media so your firm is on your customer's mind when they are ready to buy. Want to know more? Find us online at ePresence.me. That's ePresence.me. ePresence.me, because it's all about you. Welcome back to part 2 of How's Your ePresence? This is Mark Galvin with ePresence, and I am here today with my guest, Mickey Mellen of GreenMellen. You know, when you told me, Mickey, about your company, I couldn't help to think, what if your partner's name was Red?
Not sure we would have gone with that. We brainstormed names for a long time and came up with that. And really at the time she was actually engaged to be married. So her last name wasn't Green yet. So I said, you better be sure about this guy. And it worked out well. He's a good guy. So
better stick with him for sure, right? You know,
we named the company after it, so he's stuck.
I think that's great. Although Red Melon would work, but I certainly like the way, you know, you invoke Green Melon there. That works well. Well, you know, we talked a lot about before the break about you know, the things on social media, digital footprint, and how you can best harness social media from a business perspective. You know, one of the things that I think is really intriguing is, how does a business manage the response side of social media? How do they manage the piece where, gosh, each and every day I've got to stay focused on this and get and make sure I respond? What do you have counsel for those companies that are in that world?
We do. The first thing I'd say is, don't worry about it too much, because most people worry on social media and with blog comments, and their first worry is, how am I going to manage all of this? And truth be told, you're not going to have much of it. You know, when you first get started, people aren't going to be commenting on all your stuff and leaving.
Great point.
Posts and, you know,
very good point.
Overthink it, but you do need to pay attention and be there and respond, and to the good and to the bad. And that gets tricky. I think you were going to lead into that next year, about sort of jump the gun a little bit, but even bad responses are something that need to be addressed. And it can be tricky too, because you get trolls out there that are really just trying to stir up the pot. And that can get tricky, but the more you can respond to that, the better, because people see that. And especially when it comes to reviews on places like Yelp and Google My Business, you know, people look at the bad reviews as much as the good. And I think in a lot of cases, they look specifically for the bad reviews. And why do people have bad times with this company? Even if there are 4.3, what do those 1 stars look like? And if they see a crazy review with a well thought out response from the owner, that goes a long, long way, probably even more so than just the glowing reviews themselves.
Well, I think you also make another point is that not everybody can have a perfect experience at a business. I mean, that's just not possible. There are going to be problems, that there are service failures. It's just, well, we're just human, and you know, there are going to be times we have a bad day, and as a result, we may not provide great service. We hope it's not. You know that is the exception, not the rule. But when I look at valuations and ratings of companies, if I don't see something negative, I think something's wrong.
Agreed.
I think that they're stacking their ratings in some way, or maybe nobody's rating them except the owner, right? Or the system or the service that's helping them get those ratings. So I do think some negative is good, and how you respond is so important. If you were a client of mine and you had a bad experience, I'm going to pick up the phone with you and I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to find out, what is it that, you know, what was so bad? How did we do? What is it that made our service bad in this case? And is it possible to recover? You and I both know, if I start interacting with you in a fashion where I care, you are probably going to give me a chance, unless I have failed numerous times. Is that right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. The caring behind it is huge. And we see that all the time. All of us do in our daily lives. If you're at a restaurant and have a bad experience, sometimes they'll just kind of blow you off, but sometimes they'll say, I'm so sorry this happened. And whether they give you free food or whatever, the fact that they honestly seem to care makes a big, big difference.
It's a huge difference. And it's hard to, we're busy. When you're running your own business, and especially this time of year, now we're starting to think about taxes. God knows how taxes are different this year than they were before. All these pressures come along. You told me that you have somebody else write your checks for you. I got to get to that point. But it's a pain point to think, oh, now I've got an upset customer. do I want to interact directly with him, or do I want to delegate this? I do think that if you're in the size organization like ours, the owner needs to pick up the phone and call the client, because that's what we're the only ones that really can solve that. And if you're a restaurant, the manager needs to show up at the table and show genuine care. It's the same thing on social media. If someone lands on my page and they are complaining about my service and our company service, I need to make sure that I get on there and just have an open conversation and respond professionally with care, and make sure that, and realize that, you know what, the audience is not necessarily just the person I'm responding to. It's everybody else. It is a public forum, so you've got to interact. You have to say something to those folks and try to turn them around. And if you don't, and you've done a good job of trying to diffuse that, you're probably going to come out on the positive side in the in the forum, in the public forum, I would think.
Yeah,
so
and even if it's not in a public forum, it could be. We see way too often where a company will email response to someone, and that email goes viral for good or bad reasons, depending on how it is. So
yeah,
if you put it online, it's public, whether it's marked as private or not. It's all out there potentially.
Great point. It does crack me up when you look at what just happened with Jeff Bezos and the stuff that he's running into, and how he just simply posted it on one site and it went national or international, probably. Yeah,
sure
it is. Everything you put online is absolutely public. So you have said in the past that businesses, B2B companies, still do business with people. And you commented, hey, in your tagline, you kind of say that. Yeah, we do. We say people do business with people. People interact online on their social media with people. And so there are so many ways that this is manifested today. What does that mean to you, that businesses do business with people? And how do you manage that at GreenMellen?
To the extent possible, it just means not hiding behind a logo, whether it's us or our clients or whoever.
Oh, I like that. Hiding behind a logo. I love that, by the way. Well done.
Awesome. And really one that does a great job with it that most of us hate in every other way is Comcast. If you tweet at Comcast, you get a reply from Comcast, but it's from Steve at Comcast or Jody at Comcast. And they do a great job. I haven't interacted with them in a while. We don't have Comcast now, but traditionally they've done very, very well on Twitter because of that, because they break out from behind the logo and become people and actually care and try to help you versus just being the rigid response from Comcast. It's a response from Steve trying to help you out with your connection issue. And they do a good job with that. To the extent possible, that's a good thing. Typically, we have a few clients that, we really work with messaging, trying to figure out how people want to talk. And a lot of clients do want to be fun and personable, but we have a pest care company that they've been around for 100 years of professionals. They're stern, they're knowledgeable. They're not the funny little rat with a hat, commercial. We're serious. We know what we're doing. And so they often do stand behind their logo and say, hey, our official stance is this, and we know our stuff, and that's who they are. But I think part of it is figuring out who you're supposed to be and then act accordingly.
Yeah, that's a good point. You've got to understand, it's all about branding. How do you want to come across? Our brand is all blue because we're very interested in connecting with a corporate client. So there's a reason that we are in that blue space, because we want to be more perceived as more professional for that reason. So it is important, if that's your brand, to stick with that. To me, the real interesting thing about the way people interact online and the way we present ourselves is we sometimes do make it too rigid, and we've got to be human. And as people land on my LinkedIn page, I know they look at that page like it is like I'm human, as if they're interacting with me as if I'm right there with them. We don't think that way, but emotionally we do. So when you are interacting with anyone online, you've got to remember that there's a human being on the other side. And yeah, it's still business to business, but those people can be connected with. So you have to figure out, how do you connect to those folks? I think it's absolutely interesting. The struggle today is and our kids are seeing this, right? They ask each other out on dates by text now. They break up over text. They have arguments over text, and I think I think that's detrimental. We have to remember, the person on the other end of that business transaction is absolutely human, and if we can connect to them that way, we are going to see that the business is stronger. It goes a little deeper. And I bet that's part of the way you guys try to leverage the way you put together websites, because you're trying to connect to people. You try to connect to that emotional side, I would assume.
Absolutely, yeah. We do a lot with things like StoryBrand, Donald Miller's platform. There, just all about trying to connect with problems people have and answering the solutions, and taking care of people on that personal level. Because again, it's not no business is reading your website. It's a person from a business, so they have that business mindset behind them, but it's still a human and their emotions and reactions. And the colors of your website don't matter to a business per se, but it's still going to affect how someone perceives you when they come look at it. It shouldn't necessarily, but it's going to. So know that going in and act as you should.
Yeah, that's great. So part of that emotional experience is video. We've talked a lot about video here on How's Your ePresence, and what we've talked about is the producing of the video. What do you want to do on the video? How do you come up with good video? This would be an interesting question for you, because you're the guy that I would take my video and I would say, okay, put this on my website. What do you find are the great ways that video can be harnessed on websites?
So there's really two different ways to harness a video on a website. There's the background videos that you're seeing a lot more that are just there for emotion. They have the big tagline in bold letters, and behind it, the flowing rivers or whatever they have back there, which is a tricky place to be because it can really be emotional and powerful and stuff, but it's also going to slow your site down a good bit. And speed is a big ranking factor. And so you got to really weigh that back and forth and optimize carefully. But really, I think more of the videos you're talking about are the strategic, well thought out, talking heads and processes, and just a good video you put on YouTube or wherever. And YouTube is typically the best place to start, simply from a search perspective. Google is the biggest search engine in the world, and YouTube is the second biggest search engine in the world.
It's hard to believe that.
Amazon catching up quick, I think, but it's still a huge place to search. So you want your videos there. And embedding a YouTube video on your site is probably the most efficient way to get it there, because if you put it up in any other format on your site, you don't know what people are visiting with. It may be the wrong format for their machine. It may be too fast on mobile or too slow on mobile. YouTube will serve up the right thing for the right people at the right times to make it load as quickly as possible, because that's in their best interest, and they have billions of dollars behind it to make it happen, versus you just chucking an MP4 up there and hoping for the best. Where it gets tricky, though, is when you want to share a video on other social media. Every social platform tends to reward native video ahead of shared video.
Right.
So it used to be, we would say, take that LinkedIn video and go share a link to it on Facebook and a link to it on Twitter and all that. Right. And the algorithms on Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn especially, LinkedIn just loves video. If you put a native video, you upload directly to LinkedIn, you'll get tons more views than if you said, hey, check out this great video and link to your YouTube. So it creates more work. You suddenly have to upload your video, 7 different times, but it makes the difference to spend the time to do that manually, and you'll get a lot of good returns out of it.
Yeah, so have you heard Vimeo has partnered with LinkedIn to, if you drop a video on Vimeo and then put it over on LinkedIn, LinkedIn sees it as native.
Oh, interesting. I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, that's a big deal, and it's good, but it does run into the problem back to a couple. You said something you said a couple seconds ago, and that was that YouTube has done the very best job of creating the seamless experience for you. It's easier to watch a YouTube video anywhere there it is on the internet. Have you seen the same sort of issues with Vimeo, or do you have experience with that?
Vimeo does a good job. They actually tend to have a cleaner player, and they do a nice job and tend to respond well to different formats on the site. You just lose all the search benefits of it.
Right.
You can still have it on both, but part of what plays into YouTube search is how many views the video gets. And so if you upload it to YouTube for the search benefits, but then embed the Vimeo on your site, all the plays on your site are going to go to Vimeo and not help your YouTube one rank better. And so you're really getting a lot of finesse discussions to figure out what makes the most sense. We want that slightly cleaner look because our brand is so important. We want the Vimeo clean look, or is it okay for YouTube that's perhaps a bit more rugged, but it's going to offer a lot more technical and SEO advantages? And we've done some of both, depending on what the situation is.
All right, so this is one of those things where you've got to figure out where is your audience and where do you get the biggest bang for your buck. And in this case, the buck sometimes is time. So if it is more time effective for you to drop your video just on YouTube and you don't have time, then just do that, and you can drop the link into LinkedIn and sort of, if you will, sacrifice that optimization that LinkedIn can offer you. But if LinkedIn is your format, if it is the place that you want to focus on, then go Vimeo. And so I really think that's the line in the road. where's your audience? How do you want to interact with them? And if your audience is on LinkedIn, then you probably should put your video on Vimeo, because that's where you're getting the biggest bang for your buck. And do remember, this is if LinkedIn is that important to you. If your website is most important and you're looking at links, right? You're trying to optimize everything that goes along with Google search and all that, then you may want to go with YouTube. So quick summary there. I think that is, it's always, where do I put my content and how do I optimize? It's always a tough question, and we don't have a lot of time. We just don't. Well, that's good stuff. Well, we're at 14 minutes, but there's something else I want to ask you. You did something on Instagram that I think is really cool, because you do a 60-second little quick tip podcast. And what did you do with Instagram? You somehow dropped them there, right?
Yeah. So what I do is I use a tool called Wave, WAVVE.co. It takes audio and converts it to video. So I had our designer build a nice little slide for me that I update with the title each time. And it puts your audio behind that slide with kind of an animated, music playing bar at the bottom, just to make it look a little video-ish. And then you upload that directly to Instagram. And so that becomes something people browsing through your feed can just click and play and listen. And again, with a 60-second podcast, I can put I'm usually about 90 seconds. You're limited to 60, but I can usually get most of the podcast on there. So people in their feed can listen to it, give it a like, and keep on moving, versus having to go to my profile and find the link and check it all out. Most podcasts, if you find them on Instagram with videos, they say, here's a highlight of the show, because that's all you can really do. And you hope for the best, and that's a good way to do it. But in my case, it's fortunate that that particular show is so short, I can put the entire one up there. But that's one where when I generate that video from Wave, I upload it to LinkedIn, I upload it to Facebook, I upload it to YouTube, I upload it natively everywhere I can, and just spend the extra, it takes an extra 5 minutes maybe to go upload to each one of those, put the description in, publish. It's worth the extra few minutes to load them natively. And I was telling you before, I get a lot more views on all those channels than I do in the actual official podcast downloads. And that may hurt if I ever want to, sell ads on it or whatever, because my downloads aren't what they are. But I'm just wanting to get the message out. So whatever's most effective to do that, that's what I'm going to do.
Well, it's your mission, and that's understanding your mission, which you understand very well. So I think that's brilliant. Well, I hate that we're out of time. There's so much. I feel like there's so much more content that we could tap in and kind of pry from your brain, but what you've shared with us today has been extremely valuable. But you share content constantly, so if you would tell us how we can find that 60-second, your 60-second podcast and your tips and the other work you do and your website stuff. So give us the rundown. How can we track you down?
Gotcha. Kind of like you, I have the one screen name that pretty much goes everywhere, and it's Mickmel, Mickmel. So Mickmel.com, you'll find the podcast.
Brilliant. And
then Facebook and LinkedIn and Twitter and Instagram and everywhere you want to find me. Everywhere except for, I think, Flickr. There was one place years ago I could not get Mickmel. It was taken. And I was so mad, but Flickr is dead now. So I'm Mickmel everywhere. So yeah.
That's great. And what about your podcast? How do we track you down there?
Yeah, that one. So I have two podcasts. Mickmel.com will get you to the main one. It's called Digital Cast. But it just flows over on Mickmel.com. And then I have one called A Brighter Web, where I interview marketing folks to get their latest marketing tips and ideas. So abrighterweb.com is that one.
Awesome. And you do this right online, just like this. You do most of your podcast recordings over the internet?
Yeah. So Digital Cast is just me, just for 60 seconds. But for the interview one, I'd say 90% are over Zoom, over the internet, just to save time for folks. I'm doing one tomorrow that's going to be in person. I like to do them in person when I can, as you do as well.
Right.
But time dictates that you do them remotely from time to time. And it's so easy these days to do it. So why not?
Yeah, I agree. So, well done. And I will tell you that anyone out there, if you're looking for someone that can help you with all of this stuff that we've just talked about today, Mickey is definitely your go-to guy. And I love that you can find him easy at Mickmel. That is brilliant. All of you should figure out how to really find a URL, a handle, better said, that you can use everywhere. It just is so much easier to share, as you just heard Mickey do that today. Well, Mickey, thanks for joining us today. It's fun to talk to professionals like you. We share great information, and the whole goal is to help people figure out how to do this a little better. So your information was extremely valuable. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Enjoyed being on here.
You bet. So if you're interested in ePresence, just search the web for ePresence. You can find us. You can like us on Facebook, follow us on LinkedIn or Twitter, and just remember, our handle is ePresence ME. It's ePresence ME because it's all about you. On those channels, we're always sharing tips and thoughts how to better harness your professional social media. We do a lot of curating there where we do find content that others share and drop it in there. But what's great is we're sharing content that we know is valuable for you today. So I think that you'll find that pretty valuable. You can also get more information from our website, just like our handle. It's ePresence.me. So we put a dot in there for the website. Again, it's ePresence.me because it's all about you. Thank you for joining us here today on How's Your ePresence. Remember, we broadcast live on the third Thursday of every month at 3 o'clock Eastern, or just remember, the third Thursday at 3 on Business Radio X. I'll tell you what, those guys up there at Business Radio X are killing it. They produce great content, and I'm thrilled that we are on that channel with them. We are at the Gwinnett studio, and you can click the live feed there to listen to one of those shows on the third Thursday at 3, or just catch them right here on our podcast feed. We drop them everywhere. You can find the show on all the major podcast outlets. Remember, for more about ePresence, you can find us at ePresence.me. That's ePresence.me because it's all about you. Or find us on any social media channel using the handle ePresenceMe. Until next time, and for my guest, Mickey Mellen, I'm Mark Galvin, and this has been How's Your ePresence?